Helix Prime Interstellar Combat Academy did not smell like metal or oil the way Earth installations did. It smelled sterile, filtered atmosphere tuned to satisfy 47 species at once. No dust. No humidity. No familiar weight in the air. Every surface curved with deliberate intent, smooth and pale, designed to unsettle species that relied on edges and corners to orient themselves. Lieutenant Mara Kade noticed all of it without staring. She stood at ease among the other cadets in the Zero-G combat auditorium, boots magnet-locked to the deck, spine straight, hands clasped behind her back. Around her, bodies shifted, exoskeletal limbs clicked, chitin flexed, membranes twitched. Most of them were larger than her. Faster, according to the data. Stronger, according to the charts. According to the charts, she was irrelevant. Instructor Vraxel Thane hovered at the center of the chamber, supported by a subtle grav field. His species favored height and reach. His frame was long and angular, skin patterned with dark ridges that pulsed faintly as he spoke. Combat, Vraxel said, voice amplified without effort, is not art. It is arithmetic. Inputs and outcomes. Biology defines probability. A holographic lattice bloomed behind him, species silhouettes overlaid with percentages, reaction curves, skeletal stress tolerances. Several cadets straightened as their profiles appeared, annotated in glowing coalition script. Mara's did not. She kept her eyes forward anyway. Superior mass, Vraxel continued, produces superior force. Superior neural speed produces superior reaction. Training refines what nature provides. It does not replace it. A ripple of agreement moved through the room, mandibles clicking, frowns fluttering. This was doctrine. Safe. Predictable. Then the scanner chimed. It was a sharp, incorrect sound, like glass tapped with metal. The hologram flickered. A new silhouette snapped into place, compact, bipedal, unremarkable. Red glyphs cascaded beside it. Origin Earth. Classification Earthborn. The room stilled. Mara felt it before she heard it, the subtle shift of attention, the weight of dozens of gazes converging. She did not move. Vraxel turned slowly, eyes narrowing. Identify. Mara stepped forward one pace. Lieutenant Mara Kade. Earth. A murmur followed. Not fear. Amusement. Curiosity edged with disdain. Human, Vraxel said, tasting the word. Late entry species. High emotional variance. Moderate endurance. Low survivability in multi-vector combat. He gestured, and the scanner projected her metrics beside the others. They were plain. No spikes. No impressive extremes. This, he said, addressing the room, is why doctrine exists. To prevent sentiment from clouding reality. Mara remained silent. Vraxel's ridges darkened. Step closer. She did. Cadets, he said, observe. A live demonstration will clarify theory. No one objected. Instructors did not ask. Vraxel shifted his stance, rotating his lower limbs into a combat-ready configuration. The movement was fluid, practiced. His reach extended well beyond hers. His mass advantage was obvious. Human, he said, eyes fixed on her. Defensive posture. Mara raised her hands, palms open. Relaxed? Not a guard the academy taught. Vraxel's ridges flared in irritation. Correct posture. This works, she replied. A few cadets clicked softly. Vraxel's mouth tightened. Very well. He struck without warning. Not a feint. Not a test. A full-force kick, accelerated by grav assist, aimed at her centerline, fast enough that the scanner began recording impact before it occurred. Mara moved. Not quickly. Precisely. Her left hand snapped up, fingers closing around Vraxel's limb just above the joint. Her right foot slid back half a step, magnets disengaging and re-engaging in the same breath. She absorbed the force through her shoulder, spine aligned, knees bent just enough. The kick stopped. Vraxel froze, momentum bleeding harmlessly into the deck. The scanner screamed. Data cascaded across the hologram, recalculating, contradicting itself. Probability curves spiked and collapsed. Mara held the limb for a second longer than necessary. Long enough for the room to understand what had happened. Then she released it and stepped back. Silence pressed in, thick and absolute. Vraxil stared at her, shock flickering across his features before discipline crushed it flat. He straightened, reclaiming his authority through posture alone. That, he said carefully, was an anomaly. Mara met his gaze. No, sir. A collective intake of breath rippled through the cadets. Vraxil's eyes hardened. Explain. She shook her head once. You didn't ask for an explanation. You asked for a demonstration. The scanner continued to glitch behind them, unable to reconcile input with outcome. Vraxil turned sharply to the class. Lesson concluded. Return to formation. Reluctantly, the cadets complied, though many cast backward glances at Mara, some intrigued, some unsettled. Vraxil leaned closer, voice dropping below amplification. You will not undermine doctrine in my auditorium again. Mara kept her tone level. I didn't. Your model did. His ridges pulsed, betraying anger. You are here on probationary exchange. Your continued presence is not guaranteed. I know, she said. Good. He straightened. You will report to the genetic assessment wing immediately. Enhanced observation status. She nodded once and turned away. As she walked, the scanner finally stabilized. Her silhouette reappeared, annotated with a single new line beneath her classification. Variable response detected. Model confidence, low. Mara did not look back. She had known this would happen the moment the scanner flagged her. Humans never fit cleanly into systems built on averages. Pain tolerance skewed results. Adaptation corrupted predictions. Willpower, unquantifiable, inconvenient, ruined equations. She entered the corridor leading away from the auditorium, the door sealing behind her with a soft hiss. Only then did she allow herself a slow exhale. This academy wasn't built to teach humans. It was built to prove they didn't belong. And now, she had been noticed. Not as a cadet. As a problem. The genetic assessment wing sat deeper in Helix Prime's structure, where the lighting dimmed and the walls lost their ceremonial curves. Here, function replaced spectacle. Floors adjusted gravity by the meter. Atmospheres shifted without warning. Nothing was meant to be comfortable. Mara Kade felt the change the moment the doors sealed behind her. A transparent restraint field snapped around her torso, gentle but firm, pinning her in place while scanners unfolded from the ceiling. Needles of light traced muscle density, bone reinforcement, neural latency. Data streamed faster than the system could neatly categorize. A synthesized voice filled the chamber. Subject Earthborn. Observation status, enhanced. Figures, Mara muttered. Gravity spiked. Not enough to crush, just enough to test posture under stress. Her knees flexed instinctively. Spine aligned. Breathing slowed. The voice continued. Musculoskeletal strain within acceptable parameters. Another spike followed. Then another. Irregular. Designed to break rhythm. Mara adjusted without thinking. Years of planetary defense drills surfaced. Collapsed structures, unstable decks, the feel of gravity misbehaving after orbital strikes. Her body remembered what the scanners could not. Minutes passed. Sweat beaded along her hairline. Her shoulders trembled, not from weakness, but from load distribution. Pain indicators rising, the system reported. Mara smiled faintly. Yeah. That happens. The restraints released. Before she could step forward, the floor vanished. She dropped. Not far, 3 meters into a chamber flooded with low oxygen air. Her lungs burned immediately, sharp and unforgiving. Emergency lighting strobed as holographic targets flickered into existence around her. Environmental stress trial, the voice announced. Engage. Mara inhaled once, shallow, conserving air. She moved fast now, not reckless, efficient. Each strike was clean, economical. No wasted motion. Targets dissolved as she passed, her pulse steady despite the ache spreading through her chest. By the time the oxygen normalized, she was on one knee, palm braced against the deck, breathing hard but controlled. Trial complete, the system said. Performance deviation noted. Put that on my file, she replied between breaths. The next days blurred into a pattern of calculated discomfort. Heat. Cold. Noise that vibrated bone. Light that disrupted depth perception. Each test framed as neutral data collection, each one tuned just beyond human norms. She endured. Other cadets began to notice. In the endurance hall, a Talaran recruit paused mid-cycle to watch her continue long after his own muscles failed. In the reflex chamber, a pair of Kesh observers whispered as she adapted to randomized attack vectors faster on her third run than her first. Whispers followed her through corridors now, not mocking, not admiring. Curious. Instructor Vraxel watched from the observation deck. He said nothing during the first reviews. Merely tightened parameters. Shortened recovery windows. Removed predictive cues. When Mara collapsed after a neural overload test, he leaned toward the console. Subject failure, he said flatly. A medic glanced at the data. Vitals stabilized within seconds. Recovery rate exceeds baseline. Vraxel's ridges darkened. Then increased baseline. The confrontation came during the kinetic gauntlet. Mara entered the chamber knowing it was different. The air felt wrong, charged, tense. The obstacles were closer together. The timing tighter. No margin for error. Halfway through, a strike caught her ribs, hard. She felt something give. Pain flared bright and immediate. The scanner chimed approval. Structural compromise detected, it announced. Subject efficiency reduced. Mara adjusted her stance and kept moving. She finished the course slower than before, blood seeping through her uniform. When she stopped, hands on knees, the chamber doors opened to reveal Vraxel standing alone. You are damaged, he said. Yes, she answered. Your performance should degrade. It will later. His eyes narrowed. Explain. She straightened with visible effort. Humans don't optimize for comfort. We optimize for survival. Pain is a signal, not a command. Vraxel circled her slowly. You will break. Eventually, she agreed. Not today. He stopped in front of her. You rely on unpredictability. That is not strength. That is disorder. Mara met his gaze. You rely on certainty. That's worse. For a moment, she thought he might strike her again. Instead, he turned sharply and activated the chamber log. Final evaluation authorized. The words echoed heavier than any blow. Mara felt the shift ripple through the facility within hours. Notices updated. Schedules cleared. Observers assigned. The Coalition Oversight Committee would attend. Other cadets avoided her now, giving space not out of contempt, but caution. She sat alone in the mess hall, ribs taped, appetite dulled by pain. A voice interrupted her quiet. You are inefficient, said the Talaran from the endurance hall, settling across from her. Mara glanced up. So I've been told. You continue regardless, he said, antennae twitching. Why? She considered the question. Because stopping doesn't improve the situation. He studied her for a long moment. Your species is poorly modeled. Yeah, she said. We get that a lot. When he left, Mara finished her meal and stood carefully, the ache in her side sharp but manageable. She headed toward the observation ring, where the final arena waited beyond sealed bulkheads. The scanner updated as she walked. Subject status, unstable. Threat projection, inconclusive. She paused outside the arena doors, resting her forehead briefly against the cool surface. Not to pray. Not to hesitate. To focus. Vraxel wanted certainty. The Academy demanded order. The Coalition trusted its numbers. Tomorrow, all of it would be tested against a variable that refused to behave. Mara straightened and stepped forward. Let them measure that. The final evaluation arena lay at the heart of Helix Prime's orbital ring, a vast hollow where gravity, atmosphere, and terrain could be rewritten at will. Tiered observation platforms circled the chamber, occupied now by coalition officials, senior instructors, and silent recorders hovering like patient insects. Mara Kade stood alone at the center. Her ribs still ached. Her muscles carried the dull fatigue of accumulated strain. None of it mattered. She rolled her shoulders once, grounding herself in the familiar language of balance and breath. Across from her, Instructor Vraxil Thane descended from his platform, grav field humming softly. His presence drew attention immediately. Instructors did not participate in evaluations. Authority observed. It did not engage. A murmur spread. Vraxil ignored it. This assessment, he announced, voice amplified, will determine the viability of Earthborn candidates within coalition combat doctrine. A holographic overlay flared to life, projecting probabilities above Mara's head. Outcome projection, failure. Time to neutralization, 18.4 seconds. Mara glanced up, unimpressed. Vraxil settled into a combat stance refined over decades. His reach, his mass, his speed, everything about him fit the Academy's ideal. Perfect form. Perfect confidence. Begin, the system intoned. He attacked immediately. Not with spectacle. With efficiency. A barrage of strikes calculated to overwhelm, angles chosen to exploit shorter reach, feints designed to force errors. The arena floor shifted beneath them, gravity oscillating to disrupt footing. Mara retreated just enough to read him. She took hits. A glancing blow to the shoulder. A strike that rattled her teeth. Pain flared and faded, catalogued and ignored. She did not rush. She let him spend energy. The observers leaned forward. Vraxil pressed harder, irritation bleeding into his movements. He was faster, stronger, dominant by every metric. And yet the human remained standing. Yield, he snapped mid-exchange. No, Mara replied, breath steady. She changed tactics then, not by accelerating, but by slowing. Her movements grew smaller, tighter. She stopped reacting to feints and waited for commitment. Vraxil overextended with a downward strike meant to end it. Mara stepped inside his reach. Her elbow drove into a joint not protected by armor. Her foot hooked behind his support limb. She used his momentum, redirecting it with brutal economy. Vraxil hit the deck hard, grav field flickering as he struggled to recover. The arena went silent. Mara stood over him, chest rising and falling, one hand poised but restrained. She did not strike again. Evaluation complete, the system announced, confused. Outcome deviation critical. Vraxil stared up at her, disbelief etched across his features. You should not have been able to do that. She extended a hand. You assumed I'd fight the way you do. He hesitated, then accepted it. She hauled him upright with effort, not triumph. Around them, the holographic projections collapsed, rewriting themselves in real time. Model update required. New parameter, adaptive resilience. The coalition chair rose from the observation tier, robes shimmering faintly. Instructor Thane, they said calmly. Explain this result? Vraxil's ridges pulsed once. Human physiology does not conform to predictive standards. Their performance increases under sustained stress. Clarify, the chair prompted. Mara spoke before he could. We don't peak early. We endure. We learn while failing. Pain doesn't stop us, it teaches us timing. The chair studied her. And dominance? She met their gaze evenly. Dominance isn't about never being hit. It's about deciding when the fight ends. A pause followed. Data streamed across every display, silent testimony impossible to ignore. The chair nodded once. Earthborn classification will be revised. A ripple moved through the observers, quiet, profound. Vraxil stepped back, authority diminished but intact. Lieutenant Kade will be reinstated. The chair continued. Not as an exception, but as a benchmark. Mara felt the words settle, heavy and final. As the arena lights dimmed, she turned toward the exit. The path ahead remained uncertain, filled with challenges no model could predict. But for the first time since arriving at Helix Prime, the system adjusted around her instead of the other way around. She walked out under her own power. And the scanners followed, struggling to keep up.